Hey, it's Mark with Mark's Dodgers Cards. Today I'm going to make a little video just sharing my thoughts about grading. This is in kind of response inspired by a video that John Mangini did, where he kind of highlighted some of the totally nuts prices that high-end junk wax, or the junk wax PSA 10s are getting. And Wade Boggs fan did a video that showed this as well, the high prices for recently for some of the PSA 10s. But anyway, it just got me thinking about grading in general. I saw Aaron at Value Vintage did one as well, so I figured I'd chime in with my 2 cents on grading. I have a lot of graded cards. I also have a lot of ungraded cards. Most of my cards are ungraded, but I have a lot of graded cards. I think the reasons, I see like kind of 5 main reasons for grading, and then I'll talk about some of this PSA 10 business. For me, number 1 is to authenticate. Especially when you're buying online, it's nice to have third-party verification. And of course, you know, most of the cards are not being faked. And as John has pointed out, like I bought cards for years when there was no grading at all. But anyway, that's one reason. Number 2 is to have some confidence in the condition of the card. For example, if you're getting a 6, you can be pretty sure that there's not going to be any creases or wrinkles in the card. Now, sometimes the grading companies can get it wrong. It obviously helps to look at the card yourself. For example, once I bought a Harmon Killebrew rookie card in an SGC 5, and I looked at it, and it had a little wrinkle in it. And then I looked at the SGC grading scale, and it said that that was actually allowable for a 5. So that was surprising to me. But anyway, that's another thing that you can have more confidence in. A third thing is I like the way they display. We put them in a cabinet like this. It looks nice if you have a nicely encapsulated card. Fourth reason is that it makes it easier to sell because of those reasons about authentication and confidence in the condition. And the fifth reason that I've sent in cards on occasion is to test how my eye lines up with the grading company, so I can know when I'm buying raw cards if how they would kind of generally do in relation to graded cards. I started sending in cards for grading first. The first time I did it was like a very long time ago. I don't know when Beckett started doing grading, but it was shortly after. And I took 5 of what I thought was my best cards and sent them in for grading. And this was my kind of first eye-opening experience about what kind of how, I guess, a little bit subjective at the very high end some of this is. One of the cards I sent in was this beautiful 1961 Topps Duke Snider. I thought this was a perfect card, and I thought, okay, this is going to get at least a 9. It came back as an 8, and I still look at it. I've looked at it very closely. I don't see why it's an 8, but whatever, that's what it was. So that was my first thing, and then I didn't really send in any more cards for grading. I thought, okay, this is not necessary or important. Then when I kind of got back into you know, the hobby in a very big way, it was sort of right after CSG had started, and I thought, you know, kind of along the lines of what John was talking about with those PSA 10s. I thought, okay, I'm going to find some of my I took a diversity of cards. I think I took 50 cards, and I sent them into CSG for grading. I took some of my 58 cards, some cards from the 60s, some of the Don Drysdale cards who I collect, and then I also took some of my, what I thought was the best condition cards from the 80s, and I was like, okay, let's see what these turn out. Some of these are going to be 10s, and none of them came back 10s. I got a lot of 9s and 8s, and that kind of told me that, okay, this is not something that I need to get involved in. But some of the ones I sent in this Harold Baines, shout out to all the White Sox fans out there. But yeah, I thought these cards looked perfect to me. That one got an 8. This Randy Johnson rookie card got a 9. You know, again, looked perfect to me. This Greg Maddux card, beautiful leaf, centered perfectly. I didn't see any tipping or any kind of problems with the corners. That got an 8.5. And then I got this beautiful, pulled this from one of my sets, Tony Gwynn rookie card, nicely centered, no problems that I could see, and that's a 9. Now, of course, if these all came back 10s, they'd be worth way more money. And then I also have, you know, a bunch of cards that I have raw that I think look perfect, like this Phil Ortega from 1964, or this Joe Moeller from 1964, or this beautiful 1975 Steve Garvey, nicely centered, no real problems. So, and then obviously I've sent in some to SGC just to also test out what theirs is like, and this one came back a 5. I can understand the corners are a little soft, but I thought it would do maybe a little bit better. It's so perfectly centered. Anyway, this is all just to say, I don't really send cards in for grading very often. I only send if I buy like a very big card raw, I might send it in for protection and because I like the way it looks in display. But yeah, I think that with what's driving these prices to these very big heights at the PSA 10s, obviously the set registry is very much involved, driving that. There's also just a lot of like crazy money out there. There's been so much concentration of wealth in some areas that people don't know where to park their investments, so they're going all sorts of places. And I think sports cards is getting some of that at the very top end. To me, it makes no sense because there's so many of these cards out in raw condition, and a lot of them are perfect. They're in people's sets. They're in unopened wax that still exists. I've got packs of 1987 Topps sitting in my drawer. There's got to be some 10s in there. So to me, it makes no sense, and I don't plan on sending any more in. I did send those to CSG kind of just to test out what their grading system was like and to see what would happen a couple years ago. But I think grading serves an important part in the hobby. It does ease transactions a lot online. It helps for a lot of reasons, but yeah, the stuff at the very tip top of the high end, the 10s, the difference between a 9 and a 10, or even an 8, some 8s and 10s, can't tell the difference, and don't really care, to be honest. I don't have any 10s in my collection. And if people are into that, that's great. Got no problem with that, but I don't have any. And rather than spending that kind of money on a 10, I'd rather save the money and spend it on getting more cards for the collection. And actually, frankly, that's why I don't send a lot of stuff to grading, because grading costs a lot of money, and I'd rather spend my hobby dollars buying more new cards than grading cards that I already have and don't really care to send to another company to tell me what they think their condition is. So anyway, that's my general thoughts on grading. I know everybody in the different people have all different opinions, which is great. That's what makes it fun. Love seeing the different opinions on YouTube. But those are my thoughts on grading and why I have graded certain things, and why I don't really send off too much stuff to grading. So thanks for starting that conversation or continuing the conversation, and enjoy seeing all these videos where people share their opinions. So that's all I've got for now, and thanks for watching.